What's going on, ballers? Thanks so much for tuning in again, and welcome back to another BigJBasketball box break video. We're not breaking any boxes today. We did a really big rip on Monday, a huge hobby versus retail break, so check that one out if you haven't yet. But for today, I wanted to do something a little bit different. Sometimes I like to do some educational type videos, show off some different things, and in this specific one, I wanted to look at as many different graded card slabs as I could in one video. I tried to stick with the, sort of the major brands, the ones where I used to PSA, BGS, and then CSG, HGA, and SGC over here. I know there's tons of other grading companies out there. There's like ISG and TAG and Arena Club and all of the kinds of things. I don't have every single slab, but these are the ones that you're probably going to see most often. So I thought it'd be a cool idea to kind of check these out, compare them, see the differences. For anyone who's not super familiar with all these different kinds of slabs, I thought it would be cool to see them all in the same video. And of course, it's always a chance to show off some cool cards as well. So let's start with, this is your basic PSA slab. This is a Ginobili Tops 52 style gold refractor, number to 25. Got this back in my most recent PSA submission. Hopefully I can get these to focus when I show them sideways. It's a pretty thin slab overall. We'll look at some of the others and kind of compare thickness as best we can compared to the PSA slab. The cool thing about PSA slabs, and really all these other companies that you'll see if you have multiple, they always stack together very nicely. So here we have 3 different types of PSA slabs, really 4 if we include this last one. And the bottom one doesn't slide in quite as good, and I'll explain that in a second. It has to do with this third slab that we'll look at in just a second. But let's go ahead and look at these two together now. So this is your standard PSA. Most PSA cards you send there are going to have this regular slab. If you have slightly thicker cards, they may come in a slightly thicker slab like this one. So let's see if we can kind of see the size comparison there. I'm not sure if it's how well it's gonna focus, but you can see there's kind of some extra lippage here on both sides to make it a little bit thicker than the bottom one, but they still slide in and kind of fit sort of pretty neatly, almost like a Lego in a way. I don't know how much they're using these thicker slabs anymore. I don't have any RPAs or super thick patch cards in PSA slabs. So I'm not sure if they're still using this type of thicker slab or if they've started switching to this slab. And again, this is another new slab that PSA recently came out with. You can see the serial numbers here on this Curry. This is before we got to the 6s. And then in the 6s and 7s, the first number here, they came up with a new slab. I don't really know what the parameters are for them using this new slab, and we'll try and compare the regular slab to this new one. You can kind of see the difference in color in the plastic. I hope you can see it. I do think the plastic quality is better on this new one on top as well. It feels a little heavier, a little sturdier. The lip on the sides and edges that kind of hold these cards together. So you can see there is, well, it's gonna be hard to see on the video probably, but there is, a significant lip here on the edges and corners that helps the cards kind of stack together neatly like that. This one is a little flatter all around. It does have a little bit of a lip, but you can kind of see it's flatter. There's not as big of a lip there. So sometimes when you're stacking this card with some other ones, fits good pretty there, but when you reverse it, slides around a little bit more. It'll stay in, but not quite as well as some of the other ones. One thing I will say about this new slab I really like a lot. I don't know if anyone has tried cracking out cards out of these slabs. I've done it, several times if I needed to regrade something or wanted to try grading a card with a different grading company. It's really easy to get some tin snips, clip off the top corners right here with the tin snips. This plastic just snaps, it snaps right off. You can get a screwdriver in once you snap those corners off and, use some leverage to start peeling the top layer off. And that's typically the best way to crack one of these slabs. I had one of these newer, thicker slabs. I tried cracking. It does not work. I don't know if anyone has tried cracking these and has had success. I have not. When you get those same tin snips and try and snip these corners, this plastic does not crack like this does. It's a different type of material. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not, you know, a scientist that can explain these different types of plastic materials. But when you try and clip this one, it doesn't snap. It just kind of squishes the plastic and sort of slowly bends away. And to try and get down here to where the actual card is located, you can't just peel it off. There must be a different sealing process or something. It doesn't peel off the same way this one does. So hopefully if the PSA starts using more of these, I think you're gonna see a lot less people trying to crack and resubmit cards, just because it's really, trust me, it's really hard to crack something out of here. And one more PSA slab I'll show off. Again, just I also kind of wanted to show off this Kobe Auto. In addition to cards, PSA grades all kinds of other things, and they have all kinds of different custom slabs for different things. This is the only one I have that's not a regular standard card. So you can see when they have something like a cut auto like this, I sent them just this piece of paper in a card saver, and they have this frosted glass in here. And there's also, it's hard to see, there's like another layer of plastic kind of over the piece of paper here. But I do like the frosted glass they use here all around to kind of frame it a little bit better so it's not just sliding around inside of a big slab. That's gonna do it for the PSA ones. Let's look at, and we'll compare and contrast as well as we go through these. Okay, let's look at some Beckett slabs now. So this is gonna be your standard regular Beckett slab. So you can see compared to our standard PSA, let's pull this one back out again. The Beckett slab is roughly the same. It's a little bit wider. So let's see if we can see the difference in width here. So you can see on the left and the right, a little bit wider than PSA, but it's a little bit shorter. So if we can kind of match these up, you can see at the top and the bottom, there's a little bit more length on the PSA. Overall, again, basically the same size, a little bit wider, a little bit shorter. It's definitely thicker though. You can see these, it's gonna be tough. Again, I don't know how well it's gonna focus. I hope this looks okay. Definitely some extra width on the BGS. It's also a little more hard to explain. The corners are a little bit sharper. They're not completely sharp, but you can see on the PSA slab, the corners are much more rounded on these. Kind of comes to a sharper point on the BGS. Label differences, you know, kind of bigger. I do like the bigger print, I think, on PSA compared to BGS. You've really got to zoom in to read some of these subgrades sometimes. Another thing that BGS has that PSA doesn't always do, but they sometimes do. I think they do it on these. It's hard to tell. I think there's another inner sleeve that this card is in. It's either in it or protected on the top or bottom. There's no additional inner sleeve in here. The card is just in the slab. But BGS always uses these additional inner sleeves. You can see the plastic actually here running around the card. It's nice to have the extra protection, but sometimes, like you can see up in this corner, it's kind of like, doesn't always sit the best. You can see glares from the plastic sometimes on the front and the back. You can maybe see it a little bit better on this one here. So again, comparing and contrasting is another BGS slab. Same size, lengthwise and widthwise, but for thicker cards, obviously you're going to get a thicker slab. So you can see the normal card in this top slab here, thicker card in the bottom slab, because we got a patch there. And again, you can really see the inner sleeve on here as well, kind of going all around the card. And it's packed in a sleeve. I think it's completely sealed on all sides. So it's not just like a penny sleeve that's in there. It's an actual sealed sleeve. But again, yeah, you can kind of see some glare sometimes. You can see it right there. It doesn't always sit completely flat. So some people like the extra protection. Some people would just rather see, you know, the card in there without the sleeve. You can kind of see the difference in the glare here. You're not getting the same kind of glare in a PSA slab. And then I threw this one in as well. This is a super thick slab for a glass card. So again, if you have like maybe a like a sneaker swatch card or something super, super thick, they're going to come in one of these even thicker glass cards. And it's actually a little bit shorter than the other two. The other two are the same length and width. You can see this one is not quite as long. And width is about, it's a little narrower as well too. Interestingly enough, you can see on the right and the left, a little bit narrower, but super thick. All right, so those are BGS. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some others. CSG, HGA, and SGC. So I think it's funny that all three of these cards actually have the same photo on it. Panini reuses photos all the time. First, let's look at CSG and compare this to PSA. So you can see the CSG plastic is definitely clearer. You can tell PSA does like frosting around here. So it doesn't make the slab, it makes the slab look, it's just different. I don't know if it's like PSA couldn't have plastic that's clear, but I think they made the decision to, you know, put frosted plastic in here all around the card. CSG just went super, super clear. And I really like the way these slabs feel. They're nice and sturdy. I kind of like the clear plastic. You know, it doesn't take away from the card at all. It's really nicely displayed. I also like the size of the CSG slabs. They're a little bit smaller than PSA. You can see, well, they're almost the same size. A little bit smaller on the top here, but pretty close. Width-wise, about the same. But again, you can see the difference in the plastic. It almost has like a blue sort of hue to it compared to just the regular plastic. And actually, if we put the other PSA, yeah, you can see even compared to the newer PSA slab, they just have, their CSG is using different plastic, it looks like. But overall, it's a nice sturdy slab. But again, though, it doesn't really fit my PC. I like consistency. I like to have, I have mostly PSA slabs. I got a few BGS. Don't really have any of the others. I like the consistency. I don't want to have a collection with just different slabs all over the place. So being a 9.5 gem mint, they've changed their grading system since this slab came out. I'm not sure if the slab itself changed, but now you need a 10 to get a gem mint. The 9.5 back then was gem mint. This one doesn't have subgrades, but still being a gem mint, I'm gonna try cracking this, crossing at the PSA, see if we can get another 10. I'm also gonna do the same thing with HGA. This is my first time seeing an HGA slab. It's not that different from the CSG slab. It's a little bit bigger. You can see it right there. Let's compare this to the PSA slab now. Definitely bigger than the PSA slab. You can see the PSA slab actually sort of fits on top of the SGC slab. It's a little bit narrower and a little bit shorter. So a little bulky for my taste. It's really heavy, again, like the CSG. They're both really well-made slabs. I haven't tried cracking any of these yet, but I am going to crack this one and send it to PSA. So probably in a future PSA preview video, I'll talk about how easy or hard it was to crack this. I've cracked CSG slabs before. They're not that hard. And to get to the SGC, I put both of these out. They've changed their slab over the years. I'm not a fan of SGC. I just think these slabs are way too big. So if we compare it to everything else, the HGA was kind of the biggest up until this point, but even this, it's a little bit shorter than the HGA, or than the SGC, a little bit narrower as well. I know it's all personal preference. I'm not, hating on anyone that likes SGC. I know they're a good company. They're a good grading company. I just personally, I don't like the aesthetics of the tuxedo slab that people call it, with this black all the way around. I think it takes away from the card and just looks weird, especially on modern shiny cards like this. I would much rather just have, something that focuses more on the card. With this, I'm always looking at this giant number and all the black around it. This one, I've thought about cracking a million times, and I just don't want to do it because it's the only SGC 10. There's no PSA 10 of this card. There's only a couple BGS 9.5s. There's no BGS 10s. And so being the only SGC 10, I just can't bring myself to crack it out. And also because I don't think if I cross this to PSA, I don't think it'll get a 10 because there's a little bit of white on this corner. So I'm actually surprised I got an SGC 10 and not a 9.5 with that little bit of white down there. But if I ever do want to crack an SGC slab, which I'm definitely going to do with this one, getting a 9.5. I'm going to see if I can cross this to a PSA 10. It's so easy to crack these slabs. I've actually done an entire video on it. Maybe I'll link it below if anybody wants to check that out. You don't even need any like tin snips or cutters or anything. You can, there's a little space in here from the top piece of the slab and the bottom piece of the slab. It's hard to see on the video, but if you have an SGC slab, you can get your finger in there and you can feel it. If you can wedge a flathead screwdriver in there, wiggle it back and forth, you're eventually going to be able to crack the whole side. You can do the same thing then, slide the screwdriver in, and then you can say the same thing. It just like cracks right off in two clean pieces. So again, for those reasons, let's see if we can compare the size of the SGC to some other slabs. Here's the BGS. So again, it's just a little too big for my taste. It's kind of too big and bulky, and I don't like I don't like really how the slab is made. I thought they could make a slab that's harder to crack. So until they change anything, I'll probably keep cracking those SGC slabs. This will probably be the only one that stays in my PC. But that's pretty much it. Hope you guys got something out of this. I know it's not every day you get to see a whole bunch of different slabs all in one video, comparing and contrasting. Go ahead and drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know which slabs you like the best, which companies you like to collect. But that's going to do it for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all on the next one.